Yeah. Yes. Are you able to? So I just made it live. Are you able to see me on YouTube right now? Okay, cool. Are you able to hear me? Okay, perfect. I can hear that I can hear myself. I'm gonna deafen, or if you want to mute yourself on Discord too, that would be good. Okay. So I think we can get started here. I'm just going to change over my camera so that we can see more of the screen here. So hello, everybody. I'm super excited for today. Unfortunately, I could not be there in person because I have caught the COVID this week. And so I've been a little bit sick at home. So I'm giving this lecture from my computer, my nice 4K monitor over here. Now, what I will also say is during this entire workshop, I do want to make sure that if there's any questions, you can always ask them. And so I'll be keeping an eye on the Carleton Computer Science Society Discord. And there's a channel in there, Battlesnake General, that you'll be able to go and take a look at. You can ask any questions there, and I'll be able to dive into anything. So this workshop, we're going to be covering some of the basics of how to get a snake working in Python. And also we'll go and talk a little bit through the concepts as well. I'm just going to turn off dark mode. I apologize for everybody, but just so everything is visible all right. Okay, so what we're going to be going through is setting up the starter pre-built project for Python to make a Battlesnake. And this one's quite nice because it already includes a lot of what we'll need, and we don't necessarily have to worry about the stuff that isn't the logic of our game. And so, one sec, I froze. One sec. There's also some. By the way, we start at 9:15, 11:15. Okay, I'm good. Yes. All right. We'll take it a little bit slow here just to make sure that the start works out all right. Daisy. I'm just getting some links in here to verify. Okay, I think we're all good. Someone tell me in chat if we're not, but I'm gonna keep talking. Okay, so I think we'll take about half an hour to go through this entire sort of like workshop to get up and running, but I do want to make sure that we can get working on our own Battlesnake as soon as possible. And so for starters, I'm going to put the link to these quick start documents in the Carleton Computer Science Society Battlesnake general channel. And so from there, you'll be able to follow along. And if you get stuck at any parts, you'll be able to go back later and take a look. And then I also want to mention with the I mean, you've already met all the Battlesnake people. I have not met them today, but I know them from the past. But they will definitely be able to help you out with any questions throughout the day. And I'm more than happy if you have any questions to send over to me. So we need two things for the setup we're going to use. We need a Battlesnake account and we need a Replit account. So Battlesnake, this is where we'll be testing our snake and where we'll be competing later. And then also with Replit, this will be where we run our code. And well, where we write our code and run our code. So the Battlesnake API is pretty interesting. The way that it works is on a server, it will be running the game of Battlesnake, and then it's going to connect to your code through a web server. So I'm going to explain some of the ideas behind how the web server works, although with the starter pack, we don't necessarily need to think about that too much. We can mostly stick in the realm of the logic of how we want the snake to work, not necessarily how the HTTP side works. So I'm just checking chat here. Okay. So we're gonna start with step one right here. We're gonna do the select a starter project. And so let me give this a go. I did just try this a little bit ago. Okay, cool. I think there's an issue with that. So I'm just gonna drop this link in chat for us to use instead. So this is a separate Battlesnake template that we'll be working on Replit for this time. So first of all, with Replit, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to log in with my GitHub account, mostly just because I'm already signed in with it, but you can log in with any way that you need to. Okay, so now I'm logged in with my account, all good, and we should be able to use this template to go and code. So what we're going to say is let's give it and also, sorry, I'm on a 4K monitor. I keep forgetting this. Let me make it a bit bigger. Is that oh yes, a big announcement, everybody. So this is the Python version of this workshop. If you want to do your bot in JavaScript instead, if you go over to SA317, that's where Adi will be running his workshop on the JavaScript Battlesnake. So if stay here for Python, go over there for okay, yeah, that's I see Adi leaving. Goodbye, Adi, on my small camera. Okay, so okay, perfect. So we're going to come up with a name for our bot. So I'm going to say Battlesnake bot 5000. Okay, cool. So we can fork this REPL. And I'm just going to change over my screens a little bit so we can get a little bit bigger on one side. Okay. So here is the code that we start with. We have two files that are important. We have the main.py file and the server.py file. And so this is what we'll be working with today. So to get started, let's take a look at what is going on here. So as I mentioned, the Battlesnake side of things is going to be asking your code for responses every single turn that it needs to take. And so with that said, if we go take a look in server.py, we'll find all of the logic that is relative to that. And so this is using a Python library called Flask, and Flask is a web server. And we don't need to worry too much about all the semantics of how web development works, but what we can see is that it already has quite a lot of things put in for us. And so we have the ability to get information about our bot. We have the ability to start a game, do moving, and all of these are endpoints that our bot is able to respond to. And so we'll come back to this a little bit later. We can dive in a little bit more to the theory on that. Okay. So now let's go take a look at our main file. So right off the bat, we can see that there's some info up here. We have game start, game end. These different functions that are happening right here are all ones that are being called from the edit file that we just took a look at. I don't know if I can easily, oh, I can. Okay, cool. Let's go like this, and let's go like this. I'm just gonna make this full screen for now. Okay. And I'm just checking on my other screen to make sure I'm not covering up anything. I sort of am. I'll just remember that the bottom left, I can't do stuff there. Okay, so if we take a look, we can see that inside of the server.py, we have an endpoint called start. And when this is called, then it's going to call the start function from our code. And so when the game starts, there's not too much going on here. There's like a game start printout, and when the game ends, there's a game end printout. So that's helpful debug information for us. But on the other hand, it might be helpful for us in the long run to add extra code here if we care to do something when the game starts, like if we need to start running a separate process or something like that. But for what we're doing, we probably don't need to worry about it too much. On the other hand, we do have a very, very important function right down here, the move function. And so again, on the server side, we can see that when the move endpoint is called, it's going to call our move function that we define. And so this, what's happening is this is the Battlesnake website asking us to make a move. And so it's going to ask us to make a move for every single move in the game. So if we take a look through the move code, let's read through it. So it's a function. It has some values to figure out which is like a safe direction to move in. Okay, so it's storing that up here. And then where it has some code for us to prevent being able to run into ourselves. And then there's some other logic down here. I kind of just want to do a quick overview. I don't want to dive too deep just yet into what's going on. Then is doing a check to see if there's any safe moves around that we can make. And then there might be like a printout if there's no safe moves. And then it's going to make a move and return that move. And once that move is returned, it gets returned back to Battlesnake and the turn can be taken. So let's try and give this a run and see what happens. So I'm going to say that I want to run it. And it's running now. So now that it's running, I need to go and copy the URL from this bar up here. And the cool thing about this URL is actually available anywhere on the internet now. And so if I go to any tab, like if I open a new tab and go to that link, then it's going to load up and give me the info that I had put in there. And so maybe just as like a little test, let's go and, well, first of all, I'm just going to pull this up and see. Okay, so if we go to the URL without anything in it, then that means we're going to app.get/. And inside of here, it's going to do the handler for info. Okay, let's go take a look at the handler for info. So right inside of here, it's going to return API version is 1, author is this. Let me change author to Forest. And let's also, I don't know if info has to be a certain format, so I'll just leave it like this. So I'll say Forest Anderson. And now I'm going to stop my process and rerun it. And once it's running again, I can go back to my other tab, and then where there wasn't an author before, if I refresh, there's an author there now. So the changes I'm making in my code are being reflected remotely, and so I'm able to connect to them and see what's happening. And since I'm able to connect to them, that means that Battlesnake is also able to connect to it. So what we'll do on this next step is go set up a snake inside of Battlesnake. And then we'll be able to run a test on it. So I'm just gonna go over here. I'm gonna make this side of things a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna click, now that I'm logged into the Battlesnake website, I can click build a Battlesnake. And I'm gonna build one from scratch. I think if I were to choose use preset, then you have some options of strategies for testing. But I'm just gonna build one from scratch because I already have one on the go. And so I'm going to call this one Battlesnake 5000. Now for the URL, this is the important part where I need to copy the URL that I had. I need to copy the URL that I had been given by Replit so that I can go in and have the Battlesnake run. Now, I'm going to want to change the region from Oregon to Toronto, just so that we have lower latency. Well, actually, that being said, actually, we'll leave it on Oregon, just because I'm not sure where Replit servers are. And so don't completely ignore that. That's fine. And now that this is created, I have just these two things that I need to do. I need to add a name, and I need to add the location where my code is running. Now, after that, I can hit save, and the Battlesnake is ready to go. At this point, it should say that the Battlesnake was created and that it's connected. You might have, so if I, for example, I'm going to stop this running, you might see that if I hit, if you, like depending on if yours is running correctly or not. Okay, it's stopped. If you refresh, or rather if you're setting it up in the first place. Okay, I don't know why it's consistently trying to run itself. Oh, interesting. I wonder if it starts running if something tries to connect to it. I was curious. Okay, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that there's a chance that it might not say that it's running properly, in which case we can go through and debug it afterwards. But for this version right here, I can see that it does have a latency, so it means it is able to connect to it, even though it's connecting quite slowly right now. I think if I refresh, it should be a bit better. Yeah, 389 milliseconds. Okay. So now that we have our snake set up, we can go to create game and create a custom game. So the reason that we're doing this is so that we can create a test where we can see our bot working. So I have Battlesnake 5000 here. Let's go and add this to the snakes that are going to fight. And I'll also add some other snakes. So there's 4 snakes in here now, and I should be able to test it. So I'm going to leave everything else the way it is, but you can always make it larger. You can always change some other things if you want to test different things. So I'm going to hit start game now, and we saw that on our replit we have the code running. So the game was started. There was 4 moves that were made, and then the game was over. So that's given us a little bit of a hint of how the game went, but let's go take a look at how it plays. Okay, so we have the game going on. Now, this being said, this is just the bots that are fighting at this point. So I'm just going to pause it here because my snake died right off the bat. So let's go back quite a lot. We'll go right back to the beginning. If I can, okay, perfect. So right here, my bot is the one in the top left. And what we can see is my code told it to go down, and then left, and then left another time, and it ran into a wall, and that's game over. So that's pretty good, though. We got it to start off by running this. We were able to run the server. We're able to see some of the code and how it's sort of interacting. And now that we have it working, that we can see a test running, we can start working on the logic of our Battlesnake. So let's go back and take a look at how some of this logic works. Okay. Checking if there's any questions just yet. All right, looks pretty good so far. So if we go back and take a look at our code, as I mentioned, the most important part that we have here is the move function. Now, when we took a look at the BattleBot running, we saw that the logic of it is not doing too well. All that the logic says is see what's safe, up, down, left, or right, and move in that direction. And so with that, that's so in this case right here, up would not be safe because I've already been there, but the places that would be safe are left, down, and right. And so I can say of those 3 different positions, and let me make my screen bigger even. Of these 3 different positions that I could go right now, pick a random one. So that's the current logic that's happening. Now, the starter code does have some to-do steps right here that are pretty interesting. For example, this one right, this to-do prevents us from ask us to prevent your Battlesnake from moving out of bounds. So maybe let's try implementing that over the next few minutes and seeing what we can get. Okay, so the way that we know whether or not we're out of bounds is if we're trying to move into a position that is lower than the width and lower than the height. Okay. So what we'll start off by doing is uncommenting this code. And we can take a look and try and find where our snake is. And just before we go, I'm just going to quickly read through the quick start and make sure I'm not missing anything that I've wanted to say so far. I think this is good. And as just a reminder, everything that I've done so far is pretty much just an iteration of the starter pack. Okay, actually, maybe before we dive into coding, let's take a look through what the recommendations are for handling better than random. So as I mentioned, our current strategy is take a look at where we can go and choose one of them randomly. And so the statements that we have inside of the code are try avoiding the colliding with walls, try avoiding to collide with yourself, try to avoid colliding with other snakes, and then try to move towards food when possible. And so the way that Battlesnake describes a good tactic for like developing, so when you're making your bot, is to first of all take a look at what you sort of want your Battlesnake to do in a specific situation. And so maybe we want it to stop colliding with ourselves. And so we would be editing the move command and not really needing to change anything else. The rest of the starter code is pretty nice. And then we can deploy our changes and create a game and test it. And then we can repeat this process until undefeated. And then once you are properly undefeated, then you go up against the bounty snake, and unfortunately all hope is lost, or is it? Okay, so moving on here. What I am wanting to test first is take a look at the data that we get back from the bot. So our move function, we do have to return what we want the bot to do at the end of the move function. However, we also have the ability to get information about the game. And so this game state object right here is the information we get back. So what I'm going to do is print game state, and I'm going to assume that I can just print this entire object. So what we'll do is we'll give this a go. And I'm just going to create a new game because I want to see what happens when the game state comes in. And then we can take a look at that and make some decisions based on it. Okay. I don't know if my Chrome just died. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to create another one quickly. Okay, cool. So when we ran that this time, because we printed out the game state, it's going to give us a lot more information. So all I care about is one of the frames. So I'm going to copy this. Can I just make a file? Actually, I'm just going to bring up code. I have way too many VS Code windows open right now. Okay. So do format JSON. Okay. Perfect. So now we have all of the information about the game here. So let's take a quick look through it and see what information we can get at every move. Sorry, I'm just going to minimize some of my editor screens here. All right. So first of all, we have information about the game. ID, information about the rule set. This isn't stuff that we need to worry about too much on the turn per turn basis. This is something that we might want to set up at the beginning of the game and remember. For example, if there's more of a food spawn chance, maybe we want to focus on getting a lot more food than trying to defend ourselves or anything else. So we also see we have information about what turn it is. We have information about the board we're playing on. So we can see that the board is it has height and width. And then we can see other information about the snakes. And so I'm able to see where my snake is, and I'm able to see where other snakes are as well. And so I might be able to go and say, okay, this is where my body is, but where my head is right here, where the head of another snake is down here. And so I could potentially go and say, okay, I want to make sure that I'm trying to move away from another snake and make the distance further if possible. So now that we have a little bit of an idea about how the positions are set up, let's go and take a look at interacting with this a little bit. So I'm just going to change this over here. We're going to go to our main file again. I'm going to leave this JSON file up for reference just for now. And then we can write a little bit of code. Okay. So we'll go back to our move function, and we're going to be working inside of here. So we can be pretty sure that the game state is going to, well, we do know that the game state is going to return the same thing every time. And so what I'd be able to do is say, if I go game state, and then I print out board, and I print out Oh, okay. I'm glad I'm like actually reading stuff here because I was about to try and get my snake from somewhere else, but we have you right here. So this is very helpful. Okay, so if we know the board width and board height, and we know where our position is, then we should be able to say which moves are not safe based on if we're too close to the edge of the board. So we're going to use my head, and we're going to try and write a little bit of logic that does a check here. So if um, if my head is less or equal to 0, then it is not safe to move left. And so what do we mean by this here? Well, if our position on the map, and let me just pull up the map right here. If our position, I guess in this case it's over on the right, but let's match this one on the left. If we moved up and left, then if we wanted to, so our position in this case would be 0. If we tried to move left, we'd be moving out of bounds. And so we want to prevent that from happening. And so what we're saying right here is if our x value, and I suppose I should just say is equal to 0, then we don't want to move left. And similarly, if our head's x value or y value is 0, then we do not want to move up, because similarly, if we're at the top, we don't want to move up. Now we need to do the bottom and the right. So if our x is greater or equal to the width of the board, then it's not safe to go right. So again, let's take a look over here. If we moved to the right one, then we would say if that's the max size of the board, if we were to move over again, then we'd be out of bounds, and we don't want to do that. And similarly, we're going to add y right here, so that if we are at a position greater or equal to the height of the board, then we do not want to move down. So again, that's just at the bottom right here. And we know that the board has 11 spaces. And so if we are at that length, then we don't want to go further. So let's give this one a try and see if our snake doesn't move out of bounds. And there's a very high chance that I might have made a mistake here and something doesn't work. But you got to remember, this is what we are trying to do, is iterate on ideas, make mistakes, fix them, keep going with that process. Okay, so let me go back here. We're going to create a new game with Battlesnake 5000, and we're going to just toss another bot in here, and let's see what happens. Ooh, oh, nice. Okay, very cool. We got a little bit of a Python dictionary error right there, and I bet it's because I'm trying to access, yes, because I'm trying to access something that doesn't have a string. All right, so let's stop it and start it again. And we'll go back and create a game with Battlesnake and anything down here. Okay. Oh, okay. This is pretty good. This is more than 2 turns. So without even looking at the results just yet, we can see, okay, we moved up quite a lot. We moved right a little bit. We moved up again. Now, that being said, oh, wait, no, this might not be good. This might not be good. So we're moving up. Okay, right, up, and up again. So something, move 7 right here. We moved up when we shouldn't. And so let's try and take a look at why this happened. Okay. So right here, now I'm curious if I have my coordinates backwards. It could be that the top of the board is, actually, this makes way more sense. I think I just have these 2 reversed. So bottom of the board down here is 0, up here is 11. So up, and I'm going to assume that left side of the board is 0 and right side of the board is 11. So let's see if it works this time, and let's see what happens. So we're going to go create a new game with Battlesnake, Hungry Bot, and Scared Bot. 21 moves. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So let's let this one play out and see what happens. Oh my goodness, look at that snake go. That snake knows not to run outside the board. It does not know to not run into other snakes, but this is much, much better than before. Oh. Okay, sorry, my headphones died there for a second. So this looks pretty good. Let's play it again. And at this point, now I know my bounds have worked. And so what I might try and do now is go through and say, okay, what's next? As I'm going through here, I'm looking at okay, it looked like it was doing pretty well. It was making random moves and everything, but the biggest thing that it ran into was running into another snake. So with that said, I would probably be able to move on to some of maybe like the step 2 or the step 3 in the to do. And so, yeah, with that, I think we'll stop the side of coding the snake. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I might want to go through? I could go through the server stuff, but I think because it's already coded, it might not be worth spending time on it, and instead just going through with some of the other necessities for today. But let me just quickly pull it out. Yeah, okay. I don't think there's anything too magical here that I need to go through to help you with your snake today. So with that, I think I'm going to leave it off here. I'm super excited to see what people come up with. I'm super excited to see how the snakes battle throughout the day and at the tournament at the end of the day. Hopefully you can make it further than I did in this session right here. So with that, I will, I don't know who's in the room with me volunteer wise, but I'll pass it back over to them. I'll do like a cool, I can do like an outro right here. All right, see you later, everybody. Oh wait, I forgot that I'm still streaming. Yeah.